On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area, welcome to our 2020 General Election Candidate Forum, featuring candidates for State Representative, Legislative District 3, Position 1. I'm Ann Murphy, your moderator. Election day for the 2020 general election is Tuesday, November 3rd. Ballots will be mailed to all registered voters about 3 weeks before Election Day, and then must be postmarked or deposited in conveniently located ballot boxes no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day. And the League recommends that you return your ballot as early as possible. You can register to vote by mail or online by October 26, 2020. There are other sites at the voting centers leading up to the election. You can go to the downtown site now through Saturday, October 31st at the elections office at 1033 West Gardner, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. The elections office will not be open for in-person services on November 2nd and 3rd. On those dates, the Veterans Memorial Arena, the north entrance at 751 West Boone, will be open for your election needs. They will be open on Monday from 8:30 to 4, and then on Tuesday, Election Day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then the Spokane Valley Election Center at Center Place Event Center will be open starting October 16th and will be open through November 3rd, including that Saturday of October 31. Its hours will be Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then on Election Day will be open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. For other questions about casting your ballot or information about the candidates, contact the Spokane County Elections Office, 509-477-2320, or visit their website, spokanecounty.org/elections, or on the League of Women Voters online voters guide at vote411.org. I will be asking questions that have been formulated by the League's Voter Service Committee and will ask as many questions as time allows. Before the questions begin, the candidates will have up to 30 seconds to introduce themselves and tell the voters why they are running. Candidates will have up to 1 minute to answer each question, with additional time for rebuttal or follow-up question as appropriate. Each candidate will also have an opportunity to do one 30-second rebuttal of their choice. Each candidate will have the opportunity for a 30-second closing statement. The first speaker will alternate with each question. So now to introduce the candidates. They are Laura Carter, Republican, and Marcus Riccelli, Democrat. So starting with you, Ms. Carter, you have 30 seconds to tell us why you're running for state representative.
Okay, I'm running because there is a lot of nonsense that's going on in our state government, and I would like to do my part in cutting down the nonsense and replace it or go back to common sense. We've had nonsense when it comes to healthcare, education, also public safety, and also business. And there's been this movement to defund the police. We need to support the local police. And there's also this movement about teaching kids sex ed from K to 12. I don't think we need that.
Your time is up for this opening statement. Thank you. Mr. Riccelli, 30 seconds.
Hi, I'm Marcus Riccelli, and I've been honored to serve as your state representative. These are very difficult times, and I want you to know that our community's health and safety are my top priority. Our community and state are resilient, but we'll need strong representation to help move Spokane forward. Fighting for Spokane families is in my DNA. From demanding support for workers in small business recovery to leading local efforts to end hunger during the pandemic, I'll always stick up for Spokane, demand our fair share, and deliver for our hardworking neighbors. Thanks so much to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and thanks to those watching for being engaged in this election.
Thank you. And now we will move on to our questions. And the first one to take a question will be Mr. Riccelli, and you will have 1 minute. What do you consider to be the most important responsibilities of a state legislator, and what specific training, experience, and skills do you have that have prepared you for this position?
Well, I think the most important thing that a legislator is tasked with is passing a budget that reflects our values as a state. For me, that means investing in healthcare, in education, and making sure that people are able to go to work and creating jobs, investing in our infrastructure. Why I think I'm ready to continue the job is because I have a track record. I've done things like champion rest breaks for nurses, free meals for low-income students. I drafted the policy to create the WSU Medical School. I've worked with our Gold Star families. I think there's a lot more work to be done. My background as a legislator shows an effective track record in delivering for Spokane, from transportation to healthcare to our capital budget consistently. I make sure that we get our fair share, and I'll continue to do so we can grow our economy from the middle out, ensure that everyone has the opportunity to thrive regardless of the zip code they're born in.
Thank you. Ms. Carter, your turn to take on that question.
Well, I've never been elected to any state position, but I've been a Republican precinct committee officer most of my time here in Spokane. I've been here in Spokane almost 15 years as of January. So, and I've been involved with local community organizations. I've been a volunteer for Meals on Wheels, volunteer at Fox Theater, and also in the orchestra. And I've been also assistant, a teacher assistant several years ago. And I've been going to several grassroots meetings, so I'm rather actively involved, and I'm really concerned about some of the problems, some of the rights that we are losing to too much government mandates.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to our next question. Sticks with the legislature, and it'll start with you, Ms. Carter. What legislative committees are you most interested in serving on?
I would say health, because I have a lot of ideas about healthcare. A lot of healthcare can be free, like it's free to get adequate exercise, adequate sleep. It's free to cut down on smoking or not smoke, cut down on soda pops sweetened with high fructose corn syrup. And I think, and I have some ideas like, for instance, like chiropractic care. I think that needs to be a major part of our healthcare, because a lot of the health problems that we have are in the spine or nervous system. So, and another one I might be interested would be education, because I'm also interested in what our children are being taught. I'm interested in going back to the basics. I think children be taught the truth about our history and not something that's dreamed up. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Your time is up.
Okay.
We will go on to the next question. We'll deal with.
Oh,
I haven't let you answer, Mr. Riccelli. Please go ahead and answer.
Thank you. Well, currently I serve on the Healthcare, Transportation, Capital Budget, and Rules Committee. I'd like to continue on serving on healthcare, transportation, and capital budget. Particularly with healthcare, I've worked to make sure that we could increase access to quality, affordable care. I've particularly been interested in access to dental care. I spearheaded through the capital budget a effort to provide access to over 48,000 low-income patients a year, including a new East Central Dental Clinic that'll be opening up shortly. I've worked on our capital budget to help fund things like a roof for our West Central Community Center, the Emmanuel Life Center, the Carl Maxey Center, funding for the MAC. Just down the line, I really enjoy making sure that we get our fair share in those infrastructure pieces. So I continue to do that. And we have a transportation budget that we need to get our fair share on and potential package. I've been tapped by the chair to be part of that cabinet, and I will certainly continue to make sure we get our fair share.
Okay, thank you. And of course, budget is the big part of what we'll be dealing with in the legislature. So and we'll start with you on this, Mr. Riccelli. What spending cuts, new revenue sources, or tax reform measures would you support at the state level in order to maintain a balanced budget, given the significant impact of COVID-19 on revenue and expenditures? And are there any areas of spending that you think should be exempt from cuts? All in a minute. There you go.
Well, great. I think that we should continue to invest heavily in healthcare. I think particularly over the last decade or so, we've systematically underfunded public health, and we've seen the concerns in this pandemic. So I'd like to make robust investments in public health. I think we shouldn't go backwards. Things like adult dental are on the proposed chopping block. I don't think we should go backwards again. I think we should make sure that Medicaid expansion, regardless of what the Supreme Court could potentially decide, is protected in our state. I think we should invest in early learning. I think those are some of the best dollars that we could spend. So those are some of the areas. I think we need to look at our tax structure. I think one way we can gain revenue is taxing the wealthiest individuals and make sure they pay their fair share. I do support a capital gains tax on the most wealthy individuals, a small number of people. So I think that that's an important way to raise revenue. We can also close a bunch of archaic, outdated loopholes that do nothing but are write-offs and giveaways to people who don't need it and entities that don't need it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Carter.
Okay, but for one thing, I think we need to cut our funding to organizations that a lot of people do not wish to fund. We don't need to fund the legalized murder of unborn babies. We don't need to fund sex change operations or any organization that promotes such like Planned Parenthood. And we need to stop taxing businesses so much, stop raising their B&O tax, maybe give them a tax incentive for hiring people. So more people who are working, then the more contribution there is to our state revenue. And this businesses being closed down because of the pandemic. I mean, what's going to happen the next time we have another crisis? What happens if so many people come down with a common flu? Are we going to shut down businesses because of that? I think there's been an overreaction to the COVID virus. I know it's been a problem, and those who have, I know. It's
okay. Thank you. Well, we're going to kind of move on.
I'd like to use my rebuttal, Ann.
Oh, certainly. You have 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
Serving in the legislature is a privilege, and I just want to make it clear, I consider it my responsibility to use that privilege in the service of people who have been systematically oppressed. I support policies that work to promote dignity and justice for everyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, age, ability, religion, gender, identity expression, or sexual orientation. And I am committed to continuing to fund all programs that are inclusive in nature and uphold those principles. And I think that that's a big difference between me and my opponent in this election.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on. Ms. Carter, you had just raised the point about COVID. And so the public health system promotes and protects the health of residents and communities in which they live. Generally speaking, and with respect to the state's response to COVID-19, do you think our public health system is adequately funded? Are there any specific improvements that you think are needed? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of improvements that could be made. I think we need to go more for natural remedies. I think I looked at some of the statistics in Europe. People are not, the death rate is less than it is here. And I think part of it may be because, United States is about the most medicated nation in the world. And what do we have to show for it? Not much. I think we need to go more the natural route. And like I said before, when I was listening to a chiropractor show, he was talking about the Spanish flu that was over a century ago. He said those under chiropractic care were 1/40th as likely to die from the Spanish flu as those who were under medical care. I don't know what the statistics are today about those under chiropractic care, but these are people who are more into natural remedies. And I think there needs to be more emphasis on that and less on medications. We need to have, I think if I have a back pain, I would, the chiropractor would be my first line of defense. I wouldn't want to have back surgery done if I can have my spine manipulated to be healthier.
Thank you very much. Mr. Riccelli, the public health system.
Yeah, can you repeat the question, please, Ann?
I sure can. The public health system promotes and protects the health of residents and the communities in which they live. Generally speaking, and with respect to the state's response to COVID-19, do you think our public health system is adequately funded? Are there any specific improvements that you think are needed?
Well, I absolutely do not think it's fully funded. And I don't think that that's a Republican issue or a Democrat issue. I don't think it was done purposefully, but we have systematically defunded public health. And we have seen the drastic, severe concerns that go along with these cuts to public health. We need to robustly invest again in public health. I think some of the areas that we need to invest particularly are things like the nurse family partnership, these great programs that allow folks to make sure kids and families are off to a great start. I think we need to do things that make sure that education, public health education is broad. You know, our kids face an obesity and diabetes epidemic. I'd sure like to see public health spend more time on getting kids walking, biking, and doing things. This is the first generation, my kids' generation, this young generation that is slated to not outlive their parents. And it's largely due to this obesity and diabetes epidemic. I hope we can all agree we need to put more effort into public health.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll go back to you, Mr. Riccelli. What has been done and what else can you propose to assist the small businesses who are facing serious financial loss because of COVID-19?
Well, I think we need to do a much better job about providing technical assistance, about providing things like PPE when required for those who are following the rules but trying to open up. I think we need to make sure that we're providing more CTC education and training to allow a pipeline of folks to go into important industries. But we need to invest capital. And this is also an issue, I think, from a racial justice issue too. We need to make sure that small businesses have access to capital in this time, and that the state and the federal governments are infusing cash into our communities so that they can get back on their feet. I'm committed to that. I'm committed to looking at stimulus that we can offer our small businesses, incentives. And I think that if we work together, we can make sure that we can build back better and come on strong as Washington as we turn the corner here that I'm hopeful we are.
Thank you. Ms. Carter, your turn on small businesses.
Well, sure. Well, we know that Walmart and Costco, they've been open. So if they can be open to the public, of course, we have to wear masks to go in there. Why can't small businesses also be open? Why do they have to shut down when these big corporations can be open up? I don't think we should be shutting down the businesses just because of this virus. I think in the, on the business level, like in a small business, I think there's some things that they can do to improve their environment. I don't know. I've heard some rumors that if you had some kind of diffuser that spews out peppermint oil and let's say peppermint, eucalyptus, and lavender, that might help prevent getting infected. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but it may help with their sinus problems anyway. So I think, I just don't think that businesses should be shut down. I think if people are sick, then they should stay home or make sure they're adequately protected.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to a different area. How important, and we'll start with you, Ms. Carter, how important do you think it is to address climate change, and what specific actions, if any, would you support at the state level? You have 1 minute.
Climate change, it goes on. I mean, it's cyclical. I mean, we've had global warming, we've had global cooling, and a lot of it, most of it depends on the sun, the solar activities. I mean, we had global warming way back during the Renaissance. I think before that there was cooling during the medieval times. I think during the Dark Ages, weather was probably cooler, and then the weather warmed up, and that encouraged more exploration. Greenland was called Greenland because it was green instead of being a block of ice. So it goes on, it's cyclical. It depends mostly on solar activities, and we don't have much control over the solar activities. But on the city level, I think there is some global warming. I think we do contribute maybe a fraction of a % toward global warming due to air conditioners. I mean, have you ever been in front of an air conditioner outside? I mean, it's like 10 degrees hotter than ambient temperature. So I think there should be maybe less use of the air conditioner. It shouldn't be like going into a refrigerator.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Riccelli, the same question on climate change.
Climate change exists. I support actions such as incentives for clean air standards to hold polluters accountable and improve the quality of our air. I think we need to look at actions and how we maintain our forests so that we can reduce this new season that we have called fire season. I think that we've done a good job to do things like put 100% clean energy for Washington by 2045. It's real and it's an existential threat. I'm driven by the conviction that our children should inherit a better world, and protecting and preserving the immense natural beauty that we are blessed with here in Washington State. We have things like a gorgeous river that runs through it, and our river faces toxins, etc. We just need to come together on this issue. Washington can lead. We also this can be part of a new green economy. So fighting climate change isn't just an existential threat. It's a way we can put men and women to work.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with you this time, Mr. Riccelli. What are your greatest concerns about the criminal justice system in Washington, and how would you address them? What improvements, if any, have been made in recent years, and what concerns do you still have?
Well, I think in recent years, we've done things like worked forward, and I supported evidence-based restorative justice practices. I've worked on things like banning the box in our hiring, reforming legal financial obligations that created debtors' prisons. I think that I've worked both for and voted for meaningful police reforms under I-940, and I'm proud to continue these dialogues with our community and my colleagues to seek additional changes that can improve trust and break down historic bias. I think we need to do better. I think we need to reimagine our criminal justice system. And I think, some of the things that we've been doing are a good start, but we must do better. The challenges are clear, and I'm committed to having that dialogue, but not just having that dialogue, but transforming that into real reform and real action that is meaningful for all of us.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Carter, your thoughts on criminal justice?
First of all, we need to support the local police. Defunding them leads to more crime, and that's not an option in my opinion. Now, very often there are too many unnecessary shootings, like what happened 10 years ago when the sheriff deputy murdered a minister. He was like trying to defend his property, and the cop probably thought that he was a burglar, and the homeowner thought that the cop was a burglar. So it ended badly. Why couldn't he have, if they're trained to shoot, why couldn't he just shoot the gun out of his hand? Why did you have to kill him? I think there's just too many unnecessary killings, and I think there should be alternate means, like maybe taser or using martial arts or something. And I think there should be training on how to use different methods in crime control.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Carter, you'll get the first one on this question. As you are all aware, Senate Bill 5395 passed by the legislature in 2020 and subsequently has been suspended pending the results of referendum 90 in this upcoming election. This bill requires all schools to provide comprehensive sexual health education by the 22-23 school year. Do you support or oppose SB 5395, as well as your stance on referendum 90? And what are the reasons for your position? Ms. Carter, you're first.
Okay, well, I helped get the petitions I signed to put R90 on the ballot to reject it. And the reason why is I don't think our kids should be taught, K through 12 sex education. I mean, we weren't taught that when we were kids. We were taught the basics, and I think there needs to be more focused on the basics. It's my understanding, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding that they want to teach kids that they are whatever gender that they feel like they are, and that they want to, allow them to have sex change operations if they want. I don't think that should be allowed among children, because how many children really know what they want to be when they grow up? So I think it should be more like when they're almost like pre-puberty. I think girls need to know what to expect when they start puberty. I didn't know, and it came as a shock when I made this discovery. So I think they should be taught what to expect.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Riccelli.
I support public schools offering medically accurate, age-appropriate, comprehensive sexual health education that is inclusive, includes affirmative consent, and teaches the signs of healthy relationships. I appreciate the respect that has been had in this discussion and forum. It's certainly not what we see at our presidential debates, but I will have to really just strongly share that we know that LGBTQ teens particularly have one of the highest suicide rates. So I think getting into some of these questions about gender identity, et cetera, in a manner that is not appropriate, is not helpful and respectful for those individuals. And I support, I voted for it, and I will support public schools offering medically accurate, age appropriate, comprehensive sexual health education. And in fact, for most districts, they're already doing this. So we are just affirming what they're already doing.
Okay, thank you. Moving into our last question before your closing statements, starting with you, Mr. Riccelli, what are your top priorities for the legislative action in 2021?
My top priorities are making sure that we put forward a budget that reflects our values as a state, that doesn't cut the most vulnerable in these trying times, that makes investments, not cuts, in things that help people get back on their feet and succeed and thrive, making sure that we're not going backwards on measures like adult dental Medicaid benefit, making sure that we're not cutting food benefits. I was so amazed by this community. I started an effort called Spokane Food Fighters when I came back from Olympia, because the food need during COVID was so just high. We know that twice as many people are hungry that were at the same time last year. And I think making sure that people have those investments is important. I want to invest in a robust transportation package and make sure we get our fair share. I also think that we need to address the digital divide from a health equity standpoint and an education equity standpoint, and we should light this state up with broadband.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Carter, your top priorities.
Well, I have several priorities. I would like the state of Washington to be the healthiest state in the nation, and I have some ideas on how to do that. And I also would like to go back to the basics when it comes to education. I would also like to, well, there's some things that Marcus addressed that I really agree with, like children and health. I think, in fact, I think it was like about 14 years ago when I ran for a state representative the first time, I suggested that children should be given nutritious food for their school lunches. But I have another idea when it comes to food stamps. And I've talked to some people. As a volunteer for Meals on Wheels, I asked some of my clients what they thought about food stamps not being used for junk food, for candy, soda pop. And somebody said, what about potato chips? It's supposed to be used for nutritious food. But I talked to some fellow Republicans, they say, well, I don't think the state should be telling people what to eat or what not to eat. But if you're dependent on big daddy government, then I think.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carter. You're out of time on that. And now we will go to your closing statement. You will each have we're a little bit ahead, so I'm going to go ahead and give you each a minute for your closing statement. And we'll start with you, Ms. Carter.
Okay. Again, my name is Laura, and I'd like to thank you for putting on this candidate forum for us. And I'm running because I see some problems in our state, like our state being shut down because of the virus. And I also noticed that the Democrats, they've been taxing businesses, increasing the B&O tax. They should not be increased, because what we need is for businesses to, if they're being overtaxed and over-regulated, they might move to some other state or just close down. We need to promote businesses, not by taxing them more, not by regulating them more. And also for healthcare, well, I already gave you my ideas about healthcare. I have some rather unique ideas, I think. And also public safety is very important. I think we need to continue to support our local police. And we also need to, well, and I also agree with what he said about clean energy. I promote clean
Thank you, Ms.
energy.
Carter, your time is up.
Yes, I know.
Mr. Riccelli.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, who knows best that a robust democracy can only exist with an active and engaged citizenry. Thanks to all those who are taking time to watch this for doing your part. As your representative, I'm proud of the historic progress we've made on a number of fronts. I've championed rest breaks for nurses, free meals for low-income students, the creation of the WSU Medical School and its expansion, and work to honor Gold Star families, as I mentioned. But there's a lot more work to be done. We must address racial inequality and economic justice and demand accountability as we reimagine what is truly possible when we overhaul a broken system. I'm ready to return to Olympia and continue to deliver for our community. With your help, we'll grow our economy from the middle out, ensure that every child has an equal opportunity to thrive, regardless of the zip code they were born in. I want to thank you so much for participating tonight. I ask you for your vote. I ask you to check out my website, marcusriccelli.com. I ask you to call me and just have a dialogue. I'll represent this whole community, and I look forward to the future.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you to our candidates for Legislative District 3 Representative, and we have Marcus Riccelli and Laura Carter. Thank you to both of you. This concludes our 2020 General Election Candidate Forum featuring these candidates, Laura Carter, Republican, and Marcus Riccelli, Democrat. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, thank you to our candidates for participating in this forum. We hope this has given you, the voters, information that will help you make an informed decision when marking your ballots by Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. And remember, the League cautions you to get your ballot in as early as you can. For more information, visit our website, LWVSpokane.org, or our online voters guide at 411.org. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.